head of Queensland's Crime and Corruption Commission, Alan McSporran, has quit. His resignation comes after a parliamentary committee last year raised questions over the CCC's structure. It found it had breached its duty to remain independent and impartial. Mr McSporran had been under pressure for months. Joining me live now is the Queensland opposition leader, David Crisafulli. David, should he have been sacked?
G'day, Laura. Well, what happened in an extraordinary day in Queensland history was, in the end, the CCC chair showed the integrity that the Premier didn't. Now, for 2 months after a damning report by the Parliamentary Committee, I've consistently said that Mr McSporran's position was untenable. That's not because of the individual, that was just because of those cultural issues that existed. If you have institutions like that, you've got to have faith in them. And the report was so damning that they needed structural change, they needed cultural change. Now, for 2 months, the Premier has ducked and weaved on it, said she was too busy to read it over Christmas. This week said she still hadn't read the document. I'm sorry, but that's a complete lack of leadership, and it took the chair to show the leadership that she didn't.
Well, the chair's resignation doesn't really solve anything then.
Now, there's a lot of work to do, and if you read the report, it shows that there are serious structural and cultural issues that need to be changed. And Laura, this is in the same week that the Integrity Commissioner has walked out the door as well. We've got a real issue in Queensland, and whenever it gets raised, the Premier says, well, she's too busy dealing with COVID. I'd argue that during a pandemic, people have government in their lives more than at any point, and they need faith in government more than at any point. And many years ago, 7 years ago, the Premier was elected on a platform of being honest and accountable and transparent. Well, in her third term, she's walked a million miles away from that. And this has been a very dark week for Queensland, and we need urgently structural change in our integrity bodies. We need to get public faith back in governing. That's important. Transparency matters. Honesty matters. Accountability matters. And right now in Queensland, we're in free fall in that department.
Well, the CCC, as you point out, this parliamentary inquiry found it was breaching its independent and impartial standards. That would be two of the most important things for such a body. What do you suspect is going on here? When we talk about this body not being independent or impartial, are they politically beholden in any way?
Look, they're damning reports. Right now what we need to do is to actually have a proper review of this, and it does need structural change. And I've said from day one it also needs personnel change. Now, the sooner that happens, the better. We want to see a true independent process because this is an important role. We also want to see the Integrity Commissioner replaced and make sure that we have somebody beyond reproach in that role as well. Make no mistake, what's happened in Queensland, the allegations that have surfaced this week, the Office of the Integrity Commissioner was raided by the Premier's own Public Service Commission. Raided, a laptop taken, information which the allegation is involves some pretty secret communication involving ministers, and deleted and returned without her knowledge. On the back of that, she has left. Now, after 2 months, we see the chair of the CCC resigning. This is a big issue,
David, that's
and
really
I consistently say
that's really concerning if the Premier's department is able to even raid that under, the rules of these bodies. So, what do you suspect was the problem there? What don't we know about these emails that obviously the Premier's department didn't want us to know?
Well, she knows, and we've consistently asked what's on the laptop.
Do you have any idea?
The Premier knows. And in the end, if she believes in honesty and integrity, she'll release them. What happened to the Integrity Commissioner is a disgrace. And behind me is a group of people who, many of them have left countries because they want a different life and a better life. And this is the sort of behaviour that we'd expect to see in other nations, like Russia. Not in Australia, not in our Queensland. And if the Premier values integrity, she'll release the contents of that laptop. If the Premier values integrity, she will ensure that the CCC is reformed, restructured, and that it is beyond reproach. People need faith in their institutions. And for her to hide behind COVID, as she does with many things, performance of hospitals, lack of road infrastructure, lack of water, it's always the excuse is that I'm dealing with COVID. A pandemic is when people need faith in government more than at any other time, and this is a key body for upholding corruption in this state.
Okay, David Crisafulli, this is certainly a story that we will follow. There's something that we're all missing at the moment. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Laura.